Back in the 1980s, disrespecting the locals at Pipeline got you a physical altercation on the beach. Today, that enforcement runs on something quieter, more organized, and wired directly into multi-million-dollar surf brand contracts. This is the story of how the muscle of the North Shore evolved. Banzai Pipeline is a stretch of reef off Ehukai Beach Park on Oahu's North Shore, and it has killed more surfers than any wave on the planet, with 14 dead since the 1960s and countless serious injuries stacked up alongside them. The water breaks shallow over sharp, cavernous reef, throwing up massive hollow barrels that can make a career or end a life in the same afternoon. For more than 50 years, a rotating cast of enforcers has decided who gets to ride those waves and who gets sent packing. To understand how localism works at Pipeline, you have to go back to the start. Phil Edwards became the first person to surf the wave in 1961, and board shaper Mike Diffenderfer named it after noticing that the curling blue barrels looked like the concrete pipelines being laid along Kamehameha Highway during construction. 6 years later, a surfer named Joaquin Miro Quesada went headfirst into the reef and died within hours, becoming the first fatality the wave ever claimed. Pipeline was already collecting its toll before anyone thought to organize who belonged in the water. By the early 1970s, the wave had become surfing's proving ground, and the Pipe Masters, founded in 1971, quickly turned into the most prestigious contest in the sport. As the reputation grew, the crowds grew with it, and the crowds brought conflict. The real flashpoint hit in the winter of 1975 to 76, when a group of brash young surfers from Australia and South Africa descended on the North Shore and paddled straight into lineups where Hawaiian locals had surfed for years. Sean Thompson, Wayne Rabbit Bartholomew, Ian Cairns, and Mark Richards were among them. They were talented, aggressive, and completely uninterested in waiting their turn. In 1977, Rabbit Bartholomew published what became the most infamous article in surf magazine history, a chest-thumping account of conquering Hawaiian waves that ran in Surfer magazine under the title "Bustin' Down the Door." The locals read every word of it, and they answered. That same year, Da Hui entered the picture. Founded back in 1975 by Eddie Rothman, Clyde Aikau, Brian Amona, and Kawika Stant Sr., the Hui o He'e Nalu, also known as the Black Shorts, came together with a specific purpose. As Rothman himself put it, "We formed a club to let them know there is a people of this land." What happened next to Rabbit Bartholomew became legend. His teeth got knocked down his throat. He was locked in the back of a truck with 6 ferocious dogs. The entire Australian contingent spent the rest of that season holed up in their accommodation, too terrified to show their faces. Fellow Aussie Ian Kanga Cairns kept a loaded shotgun in his car for protection. Despite all of it, Bartholomew's relentless charging carried him to the World Championship in 1978, and the irony ran thick because the violence had grabbed the headlines while the surfing had quietly transformed the sport. Understanding how localism works at Pipeline means appreciating the context around it. Hawaii carries deep colonial wounds, and many Da Hui members view the islands as an independent nation living under military occupation. The rise of the Black Shorts was never only about waves. It was about sovereignty, about pushing back against a flood of outsiders and the powerful corporate interests that followed them to extract value from Hawaiian culture. Rothman's rules were simple. When I go out and surf, don't bother me, don't bother my kids, don't bother the other kids around here, just stay out of the way. Writing in Playboy magazine, surf writer Chaz Smith captured the fear Rothman inspired. Perhaps no one is more terrifying in the surfing world than Eddie. Brave surfers speak of him in hushed tones, afraid they might turn around and see him standing there, and then see the darkness of a knockout. Through the 1980s and into the early 1990s, Da Hui controlled the North Shore with an iron fist, and the lineup hierarchy was absolute. By the late 90s, something shifted. The club started keeping a lower profile, and a power vacuum opened up at Pipeline. That vacuum is where Kayla Alexander walked in. Born in 1969 on Kauai, Alexander was a fearsome big-wave surfer with a violent streak who spent most of the 1990s inside Halawa State Prison for assault. When he got out and moved to Oahu in 2001, he found Pipeline in chaos. Overcrowded, disorganized, and dangerous. That was when he teamed up with Kai Garcia, a former pro surfer and world jiu-jitsu champion nicknamed Kyborg, to co-found the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack counted around 25 members, aged 15 to 30, all Hawaiian and mostly from Kauai, and its ranks included legitimate talents like Danny Fuller, Dustin Barsa, and Pancho Sullivan. Alexander turned into the premier regulator of lineups across the whole North Shore. As one surfer described it, it's kind of like mafia control in the surf. Alexander himself never apologized for any of it. "I don't care if it's Kauai or Brooklyn. Wherever you go, locals have the right of way." His most notorious incident unfolded at Pipeline in 2002, the same year he landed a role in the movie Blue Crush by screaming in a casting director's face so convincingly that security guards came running in. 5 years later, he was starring in the 808, a reality TV series built around the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack era also exposed something critical about how localism actually works at Pipeline. The wave is genuinely deadly. Up to 40 surfers pack the lineup on the big days, and the reef underneath them is riddled with caves. So without some kind of order in place, people die. Shaper John Pazel put it bluntly, "If you think it's your wave out at Pipe, it's not." It was never a question of whether hierarchy should exist at Pipeline, but how that hierarchy would be enforced, and by whom. By the 2010s, surf gang activity had fallen into steep decline for a stack of reasons. Social media made violence risky for anyone's reputation, and the surf industry had ballooned into a $4 billion global market where sponsors like Lexus, Apple, and Corona were pumping money into the World Surf League. John Florence signed a $30 million deal with Hurley. Championship Tour naming rights were being marketed at $7 to $8 million a year, and there was simply too much money on the table for beach brawls. Today, the enforcement has shifted shape entirely. Dahui has grown into a clothing brand and community organization nearly 400 members strong. It now hosts the annual Backdoor Shootout at Pipeline, an event that has kept the same format since its creation in 1996 and still ranks among surfing's most respected competitions. Koa Rothman, Eddie Rothman's son, won it in 2025 and pocketed $55,000 for the effort. The generational transfer of power happened not through fists, but through lineage, skill, and institutional continuity. A lot of our local surf events are a big cultural thing for the people of Hawaii, Koa explained. "It's not about money, it's for the surfers." The plaque hanging between the Volcom houses at Pipeline tells the real story. As North Shore lifeguard Dave Wassel pointed out, the list of fallen heroes runs nearly as long as the list of Pipe Masters champions. Pipeline still demands respect for one simple reason: the reef does not care about your sponsor or your social media following. The enforcers have changed, and the violence has largely given way to social pressure, reputation management, and economic leverage. But the hierarchy itself remains. The lineup pecking order at Pipeline is still real, still enforced, and still earned over sessions rather than assumed on arrival. What started with Eddie Rothman's fists in the 70s now runs through brand deals and community organizations. Yet the message underneath it hasn't changed at all. Know your place, wait your turn, and respect the locals who surf this wave every single day, not just during the 4 months when the rest of the world shows up. The muscle evolved, but the wave never did. Thanks for watching. Please do me a big one and hit subscribe.